Hi, I'm Austin Eartham. Welcome to the Kitchen Table Podcast. I'm here to motivate, educate, and relate to you guys, sharing my stories, helping you get 1% better in all areas of your life. Welcome to episode 121, second one on season 7. Looking forward to seeing or hearing all of you about what you think about this episode. Shout out to Vitargo, been using you a lot this summer. Eartham Healthcare Services, Cole's Professional Kicking Camps, and obviously Spotify for podcasters and Riverside for making this episode possible. Uh, Happy to see you guys this week. Gonna have a short but sweet one here. I think I titled this "Don't Let Fear Get in the Way," and that's what we're gonna talk about. If you're new here, we're gonna have a quote of the week, talk about where I saw God this week, and then we are going to talk about what we learned and how to get better in one way of our lives, whatever that may be. So, without further ado, here we go. All right, so quote of the week this week is exactly that. Don't let fear get in the way of knowing specifically. All right, and that quote is by yours truly, myself. I was talking to a kid who I helped do some kicking lessons with, and he has been feeling not so great lately, hurt his groin, taking a week off. And he said, should I just kick less? And I said, well, come October, November, you're going to not be very good if you're never used to kicking when you're sore, tired, not able to kick, etc. So we need to kick. That being said, there is a line of being kicking sore and being kicked injured. We don't want to be injured, especially in the summertime when we are having that prime time in order to get better. So I said, hey, we can meet on Friday still and give it a whirl, right? So don't let fear get in the way of knowing, whether that's knowing that, hey, I'm going to hurt it worse, and knowing that you're going to be out a little bit longer because he's feeling good for the most part during the day. If he wasn't feeling good, then that would be a sign to obviously follow your body and make sure that you don't overuse or have an injury from overuse. But he wasn't feeling that, so it's good to give it a try. That doesn't mean we have to kick 40,000 footballs, a few reps, get it warmed up, and then go until we just feel a little bit sore, and then we can continue to go that, and then every 3-4 sessions, tone it down a little bit to get some recovery as well. But don't let fear get in the way of knowing what the result might be, right? A lot of people don't do something because they're afraid of what the result's going to be. But you're automatically going to, in quotes, I put, fail if you don't give it a try. So always face your fears, give it a whirl. The worst that can happen is that worst thought. Now, if that's life or death, maybe that's a different story. Maybe you should have some other ways to line up to ensure more success. But in this case, again, he's not going to go from full on not feeling anything to a full on dislocation or tear of some sort. Hopefully, anyways. It's obviously not totally out of the cards, but uh, it could be better too. So if it is better, then he wasted a week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever it is, not training, where he could be getting better. So I think having that fear is fine. Everybody has fear in some way, but facing that fear and getting to know what it is helps you to overcome that fear. It's hard in the process, but the know in the end is worth the fear. And trying to figure out the next step, because you can't go on the next step if you don't take the leap of faith in order to get there. All right. And go back and look at previous episodes if you want to look at why they call it a leap of faith. It might be like 114, 115 ish, maybe even back to like 90. But, anyways, where I saw God this week is God has graciously granted us with some rain. So long story short is had some depressions in our yard, had some dry grass in the yard, took some grass out, put some dirt in, put some new sod in, and it rained finally. So we needed rain for our trees and our sod and our new sod too. So graciously got that granted to us after 3-4 days of straight 90 to 100 degree weather and high humidity. So it was really nice to see that. And didn't know if they were going to come bring the sod, then they did. So it was really cool that the stress, I could just feel it leave in order to get that relieved. So that was really cool. Um, Shout out to God for helping that. Hopefully had a role in that and helping that graciously grant us with that, and help cool us off a little bit as well. And we needed it. And as everybody knows, I care about how my yard looks. So that's what is really important. Also, just a fun fact for you is this is the earliest summer solstice that happened last week in over 200 years. And so days are officially getting shorter, but it is officially summertime now. All right. Okay. Lessons of the week. So last week we talked about trying to go get what we want, right? You got to put time and effort in, have a plan, and then obviously execute that plan the best you can, right? And the title of last week's episode was to let me pull it up here. Oh, no, I can't find it. Let me pull it up here. Let's see what it says here. Oh, are you inside the box, right? So, sorry, I can't remember. That was terrible. So not being put yourself in the box, right? Have a plan, execute it. Don't do what everybody else does. Do your own plan based on what you think is best for your life and what other people have advised you maybe to do, the experts in whatever field, and go get it, right? Don't just check the box either. Like have intention, have purpose. And the one thing I learned this week, and it was actually said at one of our morning football practices that happen at 6:30 in the morning start time. Usually it's a little bit early, like 6:25 actually. Is I was thinking about it as during the rainy times. It's hard to get up when it's raining, but also I didn't know this is the exact midpoint of the sessions for the summer. Okay, and I felt it early in the week too, which I'll get to in a second. And it's hard to get up, and I even fell asleep on the couch to try to catch up on some sleep. But coach said it at the end. He said, if you're not doing the right things at the right time, it's hard to get up and make things happen that next time, that next series, whatever it is. Okay. So if you're not prepared at work, getting stuff done, closing the books, being ready to start the next day, if everything's left open and you haven't kind of got your task completed for that day, then that makes the next day a lot more hectic. You might have to get there early. You might have to do more work. You might not be prepared for something, just like a test or a practice, or they're playing an instrument, whatever it is, parenting. Uh, you need to, one, close the book, be at a stopping point, and two, your routine in order to get up that next day needs to be sound. So for instance, if people are up late at night playing video games or eating unhealthy or not going to bed, watching TV, having a lot of energy, running around late at night, it makes it really difficult to get up that next day, right? You could be sore from working out, you could be tired from looking at a screen all day, you could just be tired from not sleeping, and then add the kind of gloomy morning. It's very challenging to wake up. So make sure that your process, here's what I wrote down exactly. If you don't do the right things, it's hard to get up, right? So do the right things the day before, the night before, in order to get up the next day. And know when you can take some time off in terms of you can, I call it mess around the night before, and know when, hey, tonight's night, I got to be diligent with my schedule. And, or maybe it's nutrition, or maybe it's rehab, maybe it's studying. Know when that time is in order to crack down and be successful that next day or next week, and then how long you need to do that for. Right? Talk about Luka Doncic all the time. During regular season, some people are saying like you have a good win, play well, you might have a beer in the locker room, and that's fine. And then in the playoffs, they won the Western Conference Finals. People are celebrating, but they just usually spray the champagne. And Luka's just there sitting there with the reporters drinking. Apparently, his nutrition habits off the field have never been that good. So one of the owners or GM, somebody high up on the scale on the hierarchy, takes his beer away from him. Right. So you got to know the time and place of when it's time to celebrate, which is great. So you won the Western Conference, you should celebrate. But you have a game in 2 days, and maybe that recovery starts the minute that game is over. So having that knowledge and following through with that makes your success later on be more impactful. And so just reminding ourselves of that this week, I think, was super important. The other thing I want to think about this week is as we're getting to that halfway point, we're almost to the 4th of July here in a week or two, is some things I want to reflect on, both who we are as people and what we want out of certain situations, right? So we'll take the NBA Finals. Last week I said it would kill to be in their situation, have that money, be in that kind of realm of life and kind of be reached so close to reaching those goals. And they talk about Jason Tatum versus Jaylen Brown all the time, right? Who's better? Why? I'm a Jaylen Brown guy. I just think he does it all, and he does it more consistently than Tatum. But that's just me. But anyway, something to think about versus MVP and finals and stuff like that. When you're having a job interview, I think of these as job interview questions, right? So one thing to ask yourself and others on your team is, would you rather have a finals MVP or would you rather have a finals trophy, right? Usually that's the winning team, but let's say you don't win the trophy. Which one would you rather have, right? And who would you rather have on your team if you're the one asking this question? And if you can't have both, which one would you rather have? And then how do you feel if you get one of them but not the other, and ask about both of them? How do you feel if you win the finals MVP but you don't get the trophy? And how do you feel if you get the trophy but you don't get the finals MVP? Right? And you're going to have some players who are role players, some players who are the stars, and everybody's going to answer it differently. You need to think about what you need and who you are and why. Right? And then you can decide if you want to stick to those principles or change them. But I think that's important to think about for your company and who comes into you or who comes into your company, and who you are and who you want to evolve into. Um, and that really gives an insight, because a lot of times, especially if you have people who produce an ego, as professional athletes do to an extent, uh, you want to know who's in the clubhouse and who's not, and who you need to keep and who you need to get out. So it's just food for thought for you. You can relate it to your own situation, your own team, your own organization, and go from there. That's my interview question for this. We could really add that to the weekly thing. Reflection is always good. Self-awareness is always good. I was talking to a kid in sports psychology this past week, and we really talked about a nice order of things, right? So before the event, we're talking about to ourselves what could go right, what could happen, being realistic, obviously, and preparing those situations, right? And then during it, we obviously adjust on the fly. We're visualizing when it happened or before it happens. We're thinking about the process as it's happening, and then afterwards, we're reflecting, right? So we're learning it, we're practicing it during the week, and then we're owning it on game day, wherever that is, or obviously practice as well, right? And then after we reflect, we can change that to make it better, right? So first you must be self-aware, then you can start to change little pieces at a time, and then it becomes who you are. We need to do that same thing in our daily lives, whatever position we are at, whether, and it takes different hats, right? It might be parenting, might be at work, might be being a student, might be being a son, might be a daughter, whatever it is. We need to make sure that we put on the right hat, we do the right things so that we can have the right results and we can get closer to become who we want to, or who we see ourselves becoming and who God sees us becoming. I'll leave you with that. I hope you get 1% better this week, and I'll catch you guys next week. And remember, don't let fear get in the way of knowing, so you can take that next step in life. Love you. Bye.